Mr. Everton, obviously, and this is just a recap video from the block lesson September 6th and 7th about Confucianism and Daoism to help you if you had to miss class because you were sick. Okay, so we're going to be comparing Daoism and Confucianism in this lesson. We start off by establishing some background of Chinese society, and if you're trying to summarize Chinese history quickly, and you're trying to help yourself have an understanding of the order of events, it's really helpful to know this song. You sing it to the tune of Frere Jacques. I'm going to make all the students sing it. We haven't done class yet, but I'm about to make fifth period do this. We sing the song to the tune of Frere Jacques. So it goes class change. Shang, Zhou, Qin, Han. That's how you say those names. Shang, not Shang, but Shang. And then there's Sui, Tang, Sung. Sui Tang Sung, and then Yuan, Ming, Qing, the Republic, Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping. So Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping are not dynasties, right? They're important 20th century Chinese leaders. The Republic is the time period, is when China became a communist country in the 20th century. And the rest of those are imperial dynasties. Chinese history starts with the Shang dynasty, I don't know, I want to say 1500 BCE, maybe 1200, and then moves up through these other dynasties. So if you can remember this song, you'll remember the order of the dynasties, and it'll help you to keep track of Chinese history. And then we talk about these two important Chinese belief systems that are continuities throughout Chinese history. They both were created during the Zhou dynasty, Confucianism and Daoism. They both came into being in the 5th century BCE. So the Zhou dynasty was a period when China was not unified as a nation state, and it was, they're 1100 to 256 BC. So it was a time period where there were many different princes controlling different parts of China, and they were competing and fighting against each other. There were lots of bandits that were making travel unsafe and making people feel unsafe. So there's a lot of instability. And so during this time period, we have two different philosophers who come up with belief systems to try to make China a better place. The first one is Confucianism. So these different rulers, different princes in what is today China would hire these scholars and advisors to help them rule. One such philosopher was Confucius. And so we learn about how Confucian tradition honors respect for elders and respect for education. And we talk about how, really the parent-child model is applied to all of Chinese society. So a child should respect their parent and do what they say, and a parent should respect their child and do things that are in their interest to help them and be better, right? So Confucianism tries to apply that relationship to all of society. The emperor of China is the parent of the country and needs to do things that are in the interest of the country and help their subjects, and the subjects will have to do whatever the emperor says. So we learned about this by actually creating mini groups in the class where I put different students in charge of teaching a handout about Confucianism to their peers. And I made them this is what I did. Those are the people who were in charge for fifth period. And we reviewed standards for appropriate behavior. I allowed the students to teach the reading to their peers, and then I quizzed people from memory, and I made them stand up and speak in a clear voice. And then if somebody got the question right, I would congratulate them and ask them to thank their teacher. So in class, we have elder students who were sitting on top of desks, acting as small group leaders. In Confucianism, in ancient China, Confucianism encouraged respect for age and tradition, right? So older people have wisdom. You should treat them with respect. Your ancestors had wisdom, and you should honor them through ancestor worship, like shrines in your house. Students were very formal in the way that they addressed each other, and that goes along with the Confucian idea of li, or proper behavior. Confucianism really stresses manners. You want to always say please and thank you, and the idea is that if you're following if you have the correct manners and you treat people decently, then society will become a better place. It'll become more stable and more ordered. Students had to learn about Confucianism and answer the questions from memory. Whoa, what happened? What happened? Oh, there it is. This is very similar to the civil service system that began in Han China, not like during Confucius's life, but several hundred years later. The government actually set up a system where if you wanted to work for the government, you would have to study Confucianism and pass a really hard exam, the civil service exam. And if you passed that exam, then you would become a government official, and you become part of this like scholar gentry that actually ran China and had a lot of very high status, right? And so you could get access to that by doing well in the civil service exam. Okay, so then I asked the question we discussed in class: how would Confucianism create order and stability in China? People answered the question, and then we move on to learning about Daoism. So Daoism came into being in the same time period. It was created by a philosopher who we have less historical evidence that he really existed, but his name is Lao Tzu. And it encourages people to do things that come naturally to them and to be very self-reflective. So you need to think about yourself and why you're doing things, and you should do what makes sense for you based off of all of this self-reflection. So we're going to learn Daoism in the style of Daoism. There's no seating arrangement. You can sit anywhere you want. You can lay on the floor. You can put your head down on the desk. You can do anything you want as long as it's like a harmonious and peaceful atmosphere. So the only rule is you couldn't disrupt other people. No, you're not supposed to talk unless you absolutely have to. You want to sit and quietly not draw any attention to yourself and pretend you're not there. And then I give students a handout and I tell them, don't ask me any questions, because as your teacher, I don't actually know anything that's that important. The important thing is for you to come to your own understanding. So don't ask questions. Just try your best to answer them for yourself, because, we don't need authority figures. We just need, and this is, again, very much the style of Daoism. Daoism teaches that it's all about figuring it out for yourself. And so then in any way you want to, students had to demonstrate their knowledge of these questions. And then we have a discussion where we compare the two belief systems and we talk about which one we think would do a better job of helping China. I gave notes. So Taoists encouraged living a simple life that did not require complex rules. They valued humility and seeking inner peace. And Lao Tzu encouraged people to find their own way to live in harmony with nature. And one of the important ideas of Taoism is that nature is much bigger and more important than we are. We're really small by comparison, and we should recognize that and not think that we're such a big deal. And then I asked students to write a thesis statement. Develop an argument that compares the effects of Confucianism and Daoism on China before 1200 CE, and that's the last thing that we're going to do in class today. And I hope this video is helpful to you, and let me know if you have any questions.